Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Hxro Labs Live here at the studio with the Bitcoin picture on the right. Has been a suitable choice for the last little bit with Bitcoin dominance on a sharp rise over the last month or so in the face of bank failures in the US. Sound is good. All right. Um, as usual, check us out in the chat if you have any issues with the sound, visuals, all that stuff as we get into the grease here. Now, if you guys are in the pit, I longed the range lows yesterday, and I've just basically been sitting here through this chop um, in a deep state of discomfort. Really ironic because I know better like than to just stare at charts and trades, get out, touch grass, all that stuff. But I've got a lot of work to do, and a lot of it takes place on my computer. And so I had the chart up. Um, New trend, question mark, downtrend, maybe confirmed yesterday on the Bitcoin daily. It technically did confirm. So let's just call a spade a spade. So why long, RT? Well, wouldn't recommend it. But I did manage to get long, like right here. So I just think, fine, I'll let that play out. If it ends up being a range like I've got drawn up here, great. If it ends up being a new trend, downtrend rather, then yeah, I'll get stopped out. Some of my spot positions will get stopped out along with it, and then we'll probably step back, take a breather. And at that point, I would be looking into this area for next levels of interest for me. And not necessarily setting bids, although that sometimes works out really well because at the end of the day, we're still in a very strong uptrend by a lot of metrics. I actually just noticed this yesterday. I was like, damn, that was my level. I didn't even sell it. In fact, I think I bought something. But this is an old Gann square. If you guys have been watching the stream, you've seen me bring it up before. This entire ridiculous shape that probably gives anyone who doesn't do much TA nausea was actually just created using this point here and this point here. Just extrapolate and it spits it out. I'll show you a little example of that here without doing it the proper way, because that'll take a while. And honestly, I don't remember the settings I used when I made this one. It was like 2.5 years ago. Where is the Gann square? There it is. So you just take a point, you take it the impulse to high, and then it kind of spits out this crazy shape. And all those lines equally mean something and equally mean nothing. In other words, the horizontals can be support and resistance. The arcs can act as support and resistance. The angles can act as support and resistance. And this is more like a broad roadmap. I don't check this each day and say like, hey, what am I trading today? But for higher time frame swing trades, it's actually a really cool tool. I'll give you an example. Coming down. Is this the bottom? I don't know, but if we lose this level, I should get the fuck out. Look how that worked out. Losing that key level ended up being the precursor to a much larger down move. Going again here as we came into the lows, and we were just building a base along this, along this angle, and then basically hit the arc and FTX nuked. How coincidental? How did Gann know? Over 100 years ago, this guy was doing this stuff with pencils and protractors, and we bounced and basically bottomed for now right off of another Gann horizontal. So it was pretty much a teleportation of sorts from there to there. Well, teleport's a strong word. It took months, but from one Gann horizontal to the next. And upon reclamation of this angle, and as we were up through here, I was speculating that we would probably move to up here. And the path was not straight, as it often is not. And I wish that I had looked at this chart here, because as we were pulling down into here, I was actually struggling to find levels that made sense to me. That was, as you know, some of the USDC kind of trauma weekend that a lot of people, were struggling with, like the 8-cent DPEG. Now, thankfully, I did manage, I got stopped out of my spot kind of going into that, and then managed to get most of it back. So, not the end of the world, but obviously there was a possibility there to trade with some size and maybe even add some leverage given the strength of this level on the higher time frames. Anyways, we've come into a very big level. Do not expect to break through it very quickly. Certainly not on the first try. And you don't need this Gann square to see that level. That level is very evident over here around 28K. It basically is the front run, I guess you could say, to the summer lows of 2021, which basically marked the lows of everything until we lost our lunch back here last June. So this is not going to be an easy fight here for the bulls. In fact, it appears that they have exhausted themselves, and we're going to have to go back down and find some buyers, shake out some weak hands, as it were. So after last night, I'm just going to stick to this chart because we're already here. But somebody asked today, they said, are we still in an uptrend? Well, it depends what time frame you look at. On the weekly, yes. Let's go see the Trendmaster. Just a real quick check-in. The thing I like about the Trendmaster is that the trends are a little stickier. So they don't necessarily cancel themselves out on sharp little moves. It's using the Hikinashi, which is a little more smoothed out price action. As you can see, actual price right now, 26,841. But the Hikinashi has us up at 27,334. In other words, it's ignoring some of the noise as we move through these candles. So the weekly trend is still up. Nice big buy volume coming in 2 weeks ago. So, as an investor, I don't know that I would be rushing to like sell everything and run for the hills. This looks pretty early in what could be a much broader trend. I still expect it, might look like something like 2019. However, there's going to be a battle here. And last night, if you're thinking about M's and W's, the TRI way, pretty simple market structure where you have highs, you have a lower high, and then you have a breakdown. So that does not look good. Now that happens sometimes as you chop around and then move higher. But generally speaking, it's like not the best time to be rushing in on this dip. I would rather, if I was not already in that trade from yesterday, otherwise, like any kind of cash I have, any kind of pickups I'm looking to make, I'm just going to wait for this to resolve. So, if we get a nice green close today, then I expect we could just be ranging. If we lose this low, I think there's a pretty good bet that we're going to head a little lower. Probably thinking about pump chaser zones at that point as like first stop. And I like this level down here because it aligns with a few other levels, which is always nice in TA when you get a little confluence like that. So if you look at the recent highs, was resistance, should now be support, aligning really nicely with the 382. And because there was so much business done at that level, it also aligns with the VPVR. There's a little shelf here, which should act as a pretty good support. This here, not so strong. So in that sense, now the problem is, obviously, the way I trade, this is not a level I can just short, even though it looks like it's going to break down imminently. My long from yesterday will get stopped out. I will stop losing money at that moment. I will sit there in cash and wait for the next setup to come in. And despite how that may feel or look right now, because this is what I've been looking at for the last, 25 hours, getting long here, bouncing up, and then just trickling down into a local reload zone and a strong move. So I actually like that this morning. I was like, oh, nice. That would have been another long setup for me. Probably not one that I would take given everything I just said. But generally speaking, it's like you sweep a strong level, bounce down, retest that low. The reason it becomes a nice setup is because you can risk pretty small. So if you're wrong small. And then obviously if that does mark the local low, range highs are quite a bit higher. Any kind of, I had a debate with somebody yesterday, kind of like, if this was the range low, where is the range high? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? You got to just kind of pick yours. In this case, you could be a little more conservative there and say we've just been playing off that range high quite a bit. Point being, getting long against these lows, while extremely risky given the daily trend confirmation downwards that we got last night, it's a risk measured strategy. Being in that long right now, let me tell you, it is the most uncomfortable thing you could be doing right now with your life. But as trading goes, you generally just get paid to be uncomfortable. And I fully expect this position to be stopped out at this point. If you were to ask me, I would say there's a pretty good chance that this gets stopped out and we move on to the next one. So that's kind of my quick look and things that I've been staring at in the market, watching over. Obviously, yesterday with that sweep of the lows, we had the CFTC suing Binance news, um, and that really drove this candle. And that's actually why I decided to ape in. I was already long, got stopped out, and then as it came in here, I was like, "Yeah, why not? I'm going to take one more against this low, really close to the range lows." And on a Monday, after basically coming down for what is that, like, well, like 5 days. So 5 days since the highs, basically nothing but down. A little pop on Saturday, that was it. And then to get like a Monday morning CFTC fraud charging blah 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 finance, like that's such juicy FUD and causes an emotional wick, emotional candle. And then to have it also align with the sweep of these lows here just seemed poetic to me. So I wanted to take that shot. Probably would take that shot every single time. And so that's kind of the news. Now, my take on that is pretty simple. This also like a PCZ if you draw it this way. The safer way to draw it obviously is off the big low, right? Get yourself into less trouble if you wait for levels more like this. But an aggressive one, if we are going to be in an aggressive uptrend, which for a little bit we have, you could draw it up here, and actually that level's been getting some nice play. So we're sitting in it. If it moves up from here after chopping sideways for a little longer, I'm going to look like a genius. But I'm here to tell you guys it's all just maybe, maybe not. It's all just probabilities. The key is really just having small losses and big potential wins. And then you can, be wrong 9 times out of 10 and still not lose your shirt. So with the CFTC issues with Binance, I'm really not that concerned. And it's not like, I think the first image somebody might have in their head is like, oh man, like CZ's going to prison and they're going to shut them down. No, they just want a piece of the pie. They want some money. They said, hey, guys, we've got a case here. We could sue these guys. We could fine them. We'll get millions, hundreds of millions, billions. Like, I think the biggest fine they've ever given out was 1.18 billion. I saw something about that on Twitter to some other company about whatever. Um, I I have a feeling that Binance isn't going to set a new record breaking that, but whatever amount it is, I don't imagine it's going to threaten their livelihood. Binance is massive. They also have the kind of funds you can use to just drag something like this out. So to me, that was a shock event. We saw it in price. Was it enough to reverse the trend? I mean, like, let's again, calling a spade, guys. Unless this is a range, which will drive M's and W traders insane, right? Because like, here you have a W. Oh no, got nuked. Then here you have another W. Oh no, you got nuked. And then here you have your high, lower high, and now we have that M confirmation also on the daily, now acting as resistance. So this kind of shit will drive you crazy if you're looking for a trend and the market is just giving you a range. So all that to say, Monday morning, CFTC suing Binance or charging them, fining them potentially, just seemed like a juicy setup to me. So there we are. But midterm, long term, I am not concerned in this case for this reason about Binance. Like, other shit could always come down the pike. I think this is probably a good time for bulls to cool their jets, generally speaking. And there's a few key reasons why. We have, the moving averages we're trading below. That's not the end of the world. Sometimes you just chop through those and then we continue. But there's just nothing particularly sexy about this. And knowing myself, because I'm taking the shots against these lows, but like I do this all the time where I end up trying to be bullish on a dip. And I get, a little too soon. So, okay, I get stopped out here. Maybe take another shot here, some other setup forms. I get stopped out there. Momentum's waning. And by the time the dip comes in, the low, historically, many times I've lost all flavor for the long. So it very well may be the case that that's happening right here with this. But I do plan to step back a little bit. Of course, if we reclaim this level, so it's like, hey, RT, fuck your long, bing, bing, bing. There could be a really nice trade there, and I will pay attention. I'm not going to take a month off just because I lost one trade, but certainly we'll be keeping an eye on that. I think we should get like a side pool running to see what the odds are of this thing nuking during the stream. I was sitting there watching it this morning. I was like, oh man, It's not moving yet. It's going to move during the stream, but not like I can do much. Got my order set. So interesting news, or not news, but shift today. Check out ETHBTC. Now this is the 12-hour, but I think we could start on the 4-hour. Now, actually, that's ridiculous. Let's start on the weekly. So the reason I got BTC maxied is because we lost this key level. I saw it on lower time frames kind of starting to break down. I was like, man, like I'm just so heavy ETH, so light BTC. So I switched over. And then as that week continued, it ended up closing pretty bearishly right down here. And so in my mind, it was kind of like time to just chill and let ETH do its thing, like wait for a little bit. Bitcoin narrative, banks bad, failing, whatever. Bitcoin, that's a very strong narrative. So how's that changed since? Well, we have contacted the RLZ. We've come in and tapped. This is log scale, so it looks a little weird. There we go. We have come in and tapped the 618, long candle, doji, marking a decision, and now we're having a nice little green week so far. So zooming in on that, you get this nice little consolidation right along the 618. Magic, right? So we'll see. If we get this 4-hour close above here, I think we could have a little midterm reversal on ETHBTC, which would make sense given ebb and flow of markets. It's not usually just down only, especially on this kind of pair, which has been very contentious. Lots of chop. I mean, we've basically just been moving sideways for 2 years. No one can really make up their mind in earnest. Oh, got to zoom out more. Okay, we're going to have to go to the 12-hour. No one can seem to make up their mind. Like the market is just indecisive. So I wouldn't be shocked at all to come up and maybe even just test this level. And, the market can just ignore my little support resistance here, which would be fine. So we're actually seeing a nicer structure on ETH USD as well, given this little pop up. While Bitcoin's looking really bored, tired, and dead down near its range lows. What could not be a range could become a downtrend. ETH is actually pushing up nicely here, consistently with a little sweep of buy volume coming in, a little swoosh of buy volume. So I'm keeping a close eye on this, and of course, if it does confirm bullishness for any kind of spot long positions I have, I'd probably flip them back over to ETH and just continue with that. Now, if I want to play the ETH back to Bitcoin, back to ETH, back to Bitcoin game, you really got to be Johnny on the spot. If you end up down here and you're a week late and you're hesitating, and then all of a sudden you're like, screw it, it just keeps going lower. I'm going to switch over to ETH or switch over to Bitcoin. And then same thing down here, hesitating, waits for it to break out. And then you're like, screw it, I'm flipping back to, well, you've just chopped yourself up, right? You've lost sats, you've lost some gwei. So I don't think swing trading this with an entire stack of Bitcoin and ETH, just kind of like flip-flopping back between them over time is good, unless you have really key set levels. And again, like Johnny on the spot with making those pivots, because it ultimately is just another trade. So you should have a setup, you should have invalidations, and you should try to get long or short, one or the other, near a level that's important. So for me, flipping all my shit into ETH up here, great example of not very sharp. I tweeted about it too, which was really special. And then after this breakdown, I was like, oh, damn, I did it again right at the peak. So I flipped back. And getting back my ETH down here would gift me with a slightly larger bag of Ethereum. And so, we'll see. I've already started that transition. I have a feeling that we will see at least a couple days continuation from this. Doesn't mean it has to come like every next 5 days, but with this 12-hour W front running the daily, because we haven't got the daily W yet, but we might get it tonight, which would be in about 5 hours. So if this thing W's out, any kind of move back into here is just another reason for me to start sending more of my Bitcoin over to the Ethereum side of life. And then really more importantly than all that is, what could this mean for altcoins? Because the recipe to crypto trading is really about the liquidity cycle, right? Bitcoin rallies, then it chills out, then ETH rallies, it chills out, then altcoins rally, usually from high, mid to low cap. And that's kind of your alt season. I don't know that we're getting that all this year. Alt season is such a weird kind of almost useless term because nobody can really agree on when it is, and it's always just something you see in retrospect. Just like, oh damn, those alts kept going. This was an alt season. It's better just to stick to setups and not worry too much about that. But if ETHBTC makes a strong confirmation reversal here tonight, and then continues to chop a bit, and then starts to move up, especially if it retakes this level, this is a big level. There's lots of resistance here, right? It should actually be red now. And we can make it a little thinner. There's no need to taunt the gods, RT. Let's let price through a little easier. It's a fact that when you make them thinner, they're easier to get through. So that would be our resistance here. If we break back above that, obviously there's another one here, and there's some more levels here, but this is a pretty big one. So I think if we did get above here, you'd see some altcoin, Bitcoin pairs start to fly. So if Bitcoin's doing anything we talked about earlier, let's see, like, for example, if Bitcoin just had a nice, first off, if it ranges, that's probably best case for any kind of that stuff. But if it just breaks down and then ends up kind of like chilling through here, which is what I would expect its next thing to be if we do that, that is where Ethereum can catch up, some altcoins can catch fire and all that stuff. That could be really fun. And then, of course, we might just, continue with Bitcoin, and then all those Bitcoin pairs find their next peak. And so that's kind of the ebb and flow of the market. It's not something that's easy to understand on your first day. And it's not even really something you have to trade, right? If you think, if you're bullish Bitcoin, it is an asset, it's showing a bullish trend, you can be long Bitcoin and not worry that some altcoin somewhere might outperform. Being on the fastest horse is a game best played, by someone who really knows what they're doing, is also aware that they're taking added risk to try to be on the fastest horse and playing musical chairs. And if you don't come with a plan, oftentimes you end up just flip-flopping into things late and being like, hey, look, that one's been moving faster, I'll go there, and then it slows down, and then the next one. So you know highly recommend taking the time to really learn that stuff before you start trying to like play the rotation game. But if you're in the pit, there's a lot of rotators in there, and there's some really good ideas floating around when the seasons do come. We had one earlier this year. There was, let's see, let's just pick on AI because it's the first one that popped into my head. But late last year and into the start of this year. Oh, that's not the one. Calculate it. There we go. So like AGIX being one. Oh, log scale again. What's that all about? So like this is a crazy rally. This outperformed Bitcoin like mad for a little while there, right? So if you can spot things like this starting to happen, this was a sector-wide rally for AI, obviously, with the launch of ChatGPT back in late November. Interestingly, this was still down here. So you had about a month to speculate that the AI coins might rally, and they did pretty hard. They look pretty cooked for now. I don't know that they have to come all the way back down, but I'm certainly not rushing into these just yet. So I'd be curious to hear what you guys think in the chat. What kind of altcoin sections are you looking at? We've got, the Arbitrum airdrop. We should probably talk about Arbitrum today. I'm not that excited on it where it is right now. First of all, there's just not much data. So you're taking a lot of risks as a TA trader like myself. Even if you're just betting on it fundamentally, the FDV is like something like 10 billion still, arguably the top L2 on Ethereum, if that's what this is. I honestly couldn't tell you right now if it's bigger than Polygon already, Matic, or Optimism for that matter, but I'm pretty sure it's the top, close to it. Arguably that could be 20% of ETH's market cap. And so, 10 billion is not overvalued. But the point is, every one of these tokens was free. And so there's going to be some accumulators. There's going to be a lot of dumpers. We're seeing that now. And I think when we find equilibrium, there should be a pretty spicy rally on this thing, wherever that ends up coming in. It might be tomorrow. This is the level I was watching. So if you guys were around the pit again on Friday, I was talking about Arblongs right here, kind of on Saturday. I was taking shots against this low here, and we had a really cute sweep if you zoom in, you can see it, where price actually did come down and sweep these equal lows and then close green. So I took some shots against that. Obviously, they did not work out. And so now we've just lost the lows. That's really the only way to look at it. I'm seeing a lot of talk about, this is a deviation and then there's going to be a spring. I think that is a very high risk approach to trading. If we reclaim this level, sure, that's actually going to be really good looking. And then this will look in retrospect like a little accumulation trough. But objectively speaking, this is just negative price discovery. Womp, womp. Sorry to burst your bubble if you're thinking about being long Arbitrum. I have been thinking about it. I've longed it twice and been stopped out. I get it. But right now it's just losing levels and bearish retesting and losing more. And all things considered, I have a feeling that that's the kind of pain we're in for a little bit for the Arbitrum excitement. And wherever that low comes in, I'm not even going to bother speculating. We'll see it on the chart with W's, where we get the low and then make a little higher low and then we make a higher high, breakout. We actually got one of those here today, so I have been paying attention. But ultimately, it's just a bearish retest, and this is an hourly. I'd like to see it on the 4 hour, the daily even. And then, of course, you're going to want to see some really nice big buy volume start to come in. And that's going to tell you that the move is on. They who decideth, the market directioneth, have put their foot down and are ready to move it. That's a train I want to be on board. We were getting that buy volume on the weekend. So I was pretty excited about my long for a little bit with all this buy volume coming in, but it was not enough to sustain and moving on. Next bus in 15 minutes kind of thing. So for now, possible that we just got our W on the hourly and we're ready to move. But I'm just gonna wait for a bit. I just think there's just so many coins in the market, and I don't know that I need to do the one that's worth $10 billion that was all just given out for free. It just seems like I would be doing it just because it's a shiny new toy, not because it's the best opportunity to make a trade. So I'm gonna be patient with this one. Sorry, guys. It's been a while. I'm not checking the chat. Good to see you guys. Full Stack Creative and Tibble Hainmeiser here. What's up? Yeah, it does feel like it's over, doesn't it? I don't think it is. Obviously, long term it's not, but this rally up does feel like it's over. It feels exhausted. It feels like it needs to cool off. So I'm fully expecting to get the Bitcoin is less than your stop loss. We're going down. And that's okay. RT, what's your opinion on CFX? Never heard of it. Don't have an opinion. It's an arc at the highs. Maybe we drop down to that next level and then shoot through it. Yeah, I mean, look, I still think we're going much higher this year. Certainly next year, the year after, that would be my thesis. But even this year, I still think we've got more in the tank. I just don't think it's going to be a straight line. I think it's going to make life for people like me and you very difficult. If you're just liking to get long when it's feeling bullish and then sell all your bags when it's feeling bearish, that's probably going to get you washed pretty hard this year. But generally speaking, yes, I do imagine. Look, I've still got my eyes on 42K by May, not just because it's a chart that I created and it looks cool, but because it's a thing. Let's go look at it. I've got it right here. Oh, do I? Yes, I do. Look, we're just doing this for fun, this particular chart. I'm going to keep it up. I'm going to keep watching it. I think it's safe to say that Gann level we looked at earlier today that was at like 28K looked pretty unlikely earlier in the year when I first shared it. They tend to look unlikely. And as you can see, despite how bad things might feel right now, on this time frame, which is probably the best time frame for me to pay attention to, it's usually the one that I'm watching to start my analysis, weeklies and dailies, and shit ain't that bad. It's not that bad, honestly. We had an entire year of down. We had 9 months of sideways. We blasted out of the sort of FTX deviation depression trough on volume. We then worked our way through a CPI, and then we had a USDC depegging crisis, quote unquote crisis. They technically, I would say in many ways, I saw the take that they never depegged because no one was ever not able to redeem for $1 from them directly. But yes, obviously on chain, on sexes, for a few days they were off. Point is, we all remember that feeling. And then we bounced really hard with a lot of buying, possibly some Michael Saylor buys in there because he did just announce that he bought another 6,200 Bitcoin or something. And now we're up here, and it does look locally exhausted. Notice that the buy volume has completely dried up here. So as locally bearish as I sound, I certainly wouldn't do anything like selling here. But below this level yesterday, I think with the CFTC announcement, that spike down, the sweep of these levels, like that's a pretty good invalidation for me for any length I have in the market. So we lose this, and I will, submit. But objectively, we're having a really good year. I mean, this is January, so I wouldn't be too sad. And if you've managed, if you've lost money being a bull from here to here, you're not alone. Okay, most people probably trading, especially, have lost money. Shorting too early, longing too early, too much size, bad stops. But if you've lost money this year on this move up, you really got to take a step back and like chill and figure out what you're doing, and maybe go to TRI where I learned to trade. That's why I always talk about it. It doesn't mean you're going to guaranteed make money, but it certainly will give you a plan. So at least when you lose, you'll know why, and you'll have some data to work with. But if you're new to the stream, that's always my recommendation, is just like get into a school program that teaches this shit, because it's worth every penny you pay for it. Especially in the kind of thing like trading, you can directly use the skills to make money back. Anyways, I think it's chill out time here, whether that's range, whether that's pullback, any amount of pulling back here. I mean, look, even if we pulled back somewhere deeper, like really nasty into this little void here, it's still going to look like an uptrend, right? It's still just going to be like higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. There's your higher high. Our higher low could be as low as 20K. So as obnoxious as it is, I'm still going to be like, hey, look, it's an uptrend all the way down there, and just keeping that in mind on high time frames. I don't know. I really don't know what to say here. I think trends tend to accelerate. I don't think we're going to dip that low, but I didn't think we were going to dip this though. So who knows? Point is, Gann 50/50 rule suggests that a market like Bitcoin could take back half the rally and half the time. In this case, a downtrend rally or move. Now, if we were to take back half the move and half the time, that would actually put price somewhere around here. So 42K by May, still in the cards as far as I'm concerned. But one level at a time. There's going to be a lot of shitty stuff going on in between nice rallies. I mean, this is a nice rally. There's no two ways about it. That is a move on higher volume. In fact, some of the highest buy volume we've seen, other than whatever this was, somebody trying to put a bottom in there, but this is like the highest little cluster of buying we've seen since, I guess, 2021 lows. So really strong move. So any kind of cooling off we do here is, as much as you hate to say it, still bullish. And then you just have to figure out if you want to trade it, right? For me, there's not really any short I can take here. I'm certainly not going to try to short like a breakout breakdown trade, even though those sometimes they work. I find that they just don't work for me. So last week on the pit, I was on here with Circa and Chewbacca, and this came in. I was looking at it on the side screen, kind of like, man, that's probably where I should take profit on my long, maybe even do some shorting up against that high. But we were on stream. I'm not going to blame the stream for not taking the trade. I could have had it pre-set up. I could have been more organized, but it is ironic how many times like I look back and I go, what was I doing during that perfect entry? Oh yeah. I was out doing this, or I was streaming, I was working. So in that case, we do like to get nice spicy moves while we're streaming. For whatever reason, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern seems to be a zone. But for today, so far, no action. But not giving up on my long down here. Obviously, this is a place where I can only long. There's just nothing I could short here on an hourly or above. So we'll see. If we get, given everything I just talked about with like some of the exhaustion and stuff, up here might be an interesting area to explore some shorting. Up here might be an interesting area to explore some shorting. If I am of the opinion that this, zoom in a little bit, like if I'm feeling like this needs to really cool off and get back into some dips. Probably wouldn't try to catch a dip any deeper than this at first, at least. This would be the first area where I'd like to lose money trying to long it if I'm wrong. If we're thinking about something like that, to trade down into that, I need a move up here. Let's put it that way. I can't trade down into that from these lows. That would have to come after like a move here, or chill, and then actually come and sweep the highs and but you guys know me. By the time we get up here, I'm going to be like 32K, 42K by May. But those are places where I would consider, taking shots to like hedge out some spot or whatever, but certainly not at these lows. That's just asking for trouble. See? So, anyways, back to the chat. Let's see what we're doing here. BTC dominance does look tired. Yeah, there's an inverse relationship with Bitcoin dominance. I don't know if I have that chart up here, but look at the hash ribbons. But look over here. Anyways, I had the hash ribbon indicator up today. These are all the times it signaled a buy. Most times it signals a buy. Sometime, I think this signaled 3 buys during this 2015 bear market, well before my time. But those all ended up aging well. I mean, pretty much every high time frame buy signal on Bitcoin someday has aged well because we keep making new highs every few years, right? But point is, it didn't fire, any buy signals through this. It fired one almost at the perfect low back in 2018. And then another one as we were just sifting up into the next bull market, and then another one right at 20K as we went off into price discovery. So this indicator is something to pay attention to. And it fired a buy signal during that breakout, sort of the inverse BART that took us out of the FTX trough. So also just again, high time frame, investment perspective, I really like this general area, which is why I am kind of sticking to a fairly bullish overall bias. But the more I look at it, obviously today it feels that way because we just had that little M and now we're kind of in a red candle. But squeeze higher might take some risk above the top. But the more I look at it, the more I love the idea of also having some powder available to get long through something like this. And it could be sharp, or it could be really boring. And actually, I think really boring would probably be best for altcoins. That would be sweet. Just dripping down into here and then chilling for a while, and then altcoin pairs can run against Bitcoin. So on that note, we probably should look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. Take a quick peekaboo. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I marked up this consolidation range back when we got down here after kind of like smacking it, popping up. I was like, oh, we're probably just going to chill here for a bit. I had no idea we were going to chill here for 2 years. I really thought it would be less, and then like, oh my God, ETH is going to flip Bitcoin. ETH is going to flip Bitcoin. Nope. Still stuck in this range, which if you can already tell is pretty much just an inverse. An inverse of this, because Ethereum is so big in its market cap relative to Bitcoin and mostly relative to all the rest of the altcoins that when it moves, ETHBTC pair moves, this thing is basically just the inverse of that, with a little bit of added spice from the other alts. So it is at a level. So it's not weird at all to think that ETH is going to take back some market share, even just coming back to tag this level or something. If you think this is going to go higher, I think, like always say, one level at a time. I'm back to the ETH party for now. We'll see how that all goes. But I think if Bitcoin finds itself into a range down into this kind of pump chaser zone, we could see some real juice on the other side of the market, because like I said, anything above this is still a bullish trend. Anything, so like these kinds of dips down into here, I don't think it's going to be like, hey, all the altcoins and all the ETH should all puke together. I mean, maybe initially on the impulse, but it's those BTC pairs that could really lift those altcoins while Bitcoin is just being a boring old dinosaur. So just potential. Very possible that this changes direction here, given what we're seeing on the lower time frames. I wouldn't get too excited. So here's the thing. Okay, I'll disclaim this, and then let's go look at some altcoins. I will just say this: we did lose this key level. We have not regained it. Let's just get that Let's just get that out there. Because I sold what I did and because I saw what I saw, I wanted to flip back because I don't want to get left behind and end up buying back higher. I don't want it to be, it's a winning trade already. So I'm back to ETH kind of thing. I don't want to now, we come in here and fail. Maybe I have a losing trade now. But, like, do I have to flip back and forth between Bitcoin and ETH? Is it even that big of a move? Like, these are like 6% moves. It's not that sexy. It's mostly just about, if Bitcoin, hyperinflation, if all that stuff, the banks, I don't think we're going to 1 million in 90 days. I don't even think Biology thinks that. But that narrative is capturing some attention, and I don't want to not have any Bitcoin in the case that it separates itself from crypto. That's why I'm paying close attention to this. Oh, pumping, baby. Let's go look at the low time frames. Oh, yeah. See? You see how depressing the lows can feel, but you just got to stick to the setups. That is a nice looking candle. I wonder if it's news related. Local highs came in live on stream. RT gets off the stream and we're back down here. No, but seriously, that's a nice move. It's just what you want to see. And all my copy little reload zones that I'll keep drawing up when I'm in those trades. And I'm like, oh, look, it's just a higher low. It's just a higher low. But like, you can see why I draw these, because if you do end up getting long against these, then, you can risk to lows, and sometimes they pop. That was a pretty nice pop. Kind of wish I was listening to the Agar right now. Ha 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 ha. So that's a good move. That's exactly what you want to see down here. Arbitrum, again, still below the level. If it does break out of here, any kind of retest would be something I'd like to be longing. But for now, like I said, not my favorite coin. There was a 1-day ZK season. Yeah, I heard about that. Been exploring it a little bit. Not myself, just me and the guys at the fund were kind of talking about it, exploring it. Nothing really, that I wanted to go and hunt too aggressively. I feel like when I hear about it from 100 different places in 3 days, I feel like it's just not optimal. It's not like sneaky. I like setups, trades, ideas that I hear about from like 1 or 2 people that are in my wheelhouse of like guys that I like to listen to for the juice. When I just see something going crazy all over the place, it's usually a good sign to like, wait or not touch it ever. Anyways, if you guys haven't already and you do like the video, you should hit like. If you don't like the video, do it anyways. Doesn't cost you much. Makes me smile. Haha. Dino's like, oh my God, time to start airdrop farming the ZK though. Yep, that's somewhat what our conversation was about when we were talking about it too. And then you got to think, like, every time an airdrop comes out, especially these big ones. Actually, let's go low time frame. We want to see the corn. There it is. Especially these like lower time frame. Oh, just mixed what I was looking at with what I was saying. When you see something like 1 inch being the first airdrop, the big one I remember from Christmas 2019, 2020, 2020, Christmas 2020. That was a really sweet airdrop, but there was like no Sybil protection at all. In fact, if you just did like $100 of transactions at any time in a wallet, you got the full size amount of the airdrop per wallet. And then Arbitrum had like scaled levels, which I thought was pretty smart. They also had various tasks, some quests that they hinted at earlier last year. Anyways, there was still some Sybil attack stuff going on. Who knows how they figured out exactly what to do, or if it was all just guessing. But point is, with each one of these, you're going to get slightly smarter devs who have sussed out exactly who used a Sybil attack on the Arbitrum airdrop and then figure a way to mitigate that. So I think it's going to get harder and harder to quote unquote farm airdrops. The best way to do it is probably just to go and actually engage with the ecosystem, which is why they do it the way they do it. So, yeah, we've got to move. It's a stream tradition, Bubble Boy, Bubble B. Back to 27K. Yes, boys, ladies, gentlemen. Piece of advice to everybody: don't watch low time frame charts when you're in a midterm swing. My God. Shout out to Smeety Boop if he's on the stream. That guy had to hold my hand yesterday. We were talking about it here. Like we were like watching it. I was just like, Jesus. And I woke up this morning. I was like, oh my God. Almost added, because that is that level where I would have just had a whole new long. But I just was like, screw it. Didn't have the stomach for it. but I absolutely love what I'm seeing right now. And I'm so glad it happened on stream, because it means that I make some money instead of losing the money, which is nice to do. Because you guys probably felt it early on the stream. I was like, well, here we are at the lows, gonna go lose my lunch. And that's also why you don't want to, or at least I don't want to go puking my bags out when it feels bad right here. I would rather lose a little bit more and risk to an invalidation level, um, just in case, because sometimes you just get this, a little dildo or a big dildo, as it were. So, we're not out of the woods yet, guys, but this is, let's make it a range. This is now the Bitcoin show. Altcoins, get out of here. I take back everything I said. I'm back to all in Bitcoin. Just kidding. Um, let's check on ETHBTC though. I wonder if Ethereum's like leading this move, because it has been leading today. Ooh, it's also got a candle. I have a feeling from the looks of it, ETHBTC is pretty flat up here. Yeah. Well, it's actually moving up on the hourly with this, so that's pretty cool. I like a market better when ETH is outperforming. Let's just put it that way. Not only because it's a higher beta kind of coin and there's more upside, but Bitcoin doesn't play nicely with others. Let's put it that way. This is a chart on a level that I got drawn up like on stream last week with the guys, Circa and Jubaka, who's here in the chat. So what's up, dude? Anyways, this was a level last week. It's almost like ETH has already reclaimed these July 2021 lows, and it was just kind of like chilling on a launch pad. Exactly how you want to draw it. The lower I make it, the sexier it looks. But either way, we're just at this level. I think I had drawn something like that, and it just looks so good. It's like, hey, here I am breaking through a level, now just retesting it. And so the spring with a huge level way up high there, pie in the sky, 2300. It looked better than Bitcoin objectively, and it's what got me to switch some of my Bitcoin back to ETH. So alternatively, those summer lows, let's extend this over on Bitcoin. They're up here. We're still below them. So like a relative underperformance. Actually, I don't want to mess this chart up, so I'm going to stop touching stuff. Dude. Anyways, let's close that so I don't mess it up. Leave. Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked, like I was saying earlier in the stream, to see Ethereum make a little comeback here. That would be really nice for altcoins. Basically what the market wants, to give permission to altcoins. Let's get back to what we want to see, which is Bitcoin mooning. But the market really wants to see stability in Bitcoin. So it's like, Bitcoin here announcing, okay, I'm tired. I'm at major resistance. I'm going to chill. The market just wants to see that it's not going to die. And I think this kind of candle, maybe even like a green daily close, that could be the announcement that's like, hey, don't worry, guys. I'm not going to have a massive trend reversal and shit in your face. I'm just going to chill out in this range, and then altcoins can fly for a leg. It doesn't mean multi-month alt season, although it's possible. But they could take a leg here while Bitcoin just chills. Alts do some outperforming, and then Bitcoin breaks out to its next high, and alts pull back versus Bitcoin. That tends to be the ebb and flow. So let's see if we can maximize our opportunities by spotting that shit. Yeah, let's take a look at DYDX. That is one that I was hunting pretty aggressively earlier, I guess in February. Let's see. DYDX. Yeah, nice move. And here's the support that it lost that I was watching before. Wow, really lost that. So as you can see, I was paying attention to this once upon a time, probably on a weekly, because I was looking at weekly W's. Yeah. So here's a good lesson. Weekly W's can be really good. In fact, they are really good. They just are. They're pretty much the top kind of, hey, look at me, I'm investable now, type of signal you could get in the market, because all this downtrend, like, oh, I'm going to buy here, bounce. Like, nah, just wait for a weekly W. And if you can get a long trough, then the breakout is often even stronger. The move more sustained, goes higher. But here's the thing, and here's the alpha. It's not a huge secret, but I'm going to share it with you now. It's something to remember. Instead of getting all gung ho and excited on the breakout and then puking your bags over the next month while it comes and touches the reload zone, for me, a weekly W is really just a signal to start hunting the reload zone down here, because when it comes, as it moves up, if it comes, sometimes they don't, but they usually do. Um, Getting long through something like this on a high time frame trade, there's a weekly, right? It's going to take months to play out. But it just gives you like a lower risk window. And obviously, you didn't spend hardly any time underwater if you just set bids at the 618, at the 702. Oh, my 786 didn't get filled. Womp womp. Who cares? Because I'm long and I'm instantly up. And then I can just risk to that low. In this case, makes it look easy. And then just chill. But keep in mind, this came in like March 6th. Like this is a month-long hold. So this is not like a chart stare-ors trade. This is somebody who has a day job, has a family, and just wants to be passively getting in at the opportune times in the market. So weekly W's, reload zone, setting bids through that after a weekly W breakout confirmation, and then like chill. And then if you want to get real spicy, you can watch our video on the Chaos PRZ. I'm going to give a shout out to Brian Beamish over at TRI because he's the one who taught me that. I don't even know if he was the one that brought it to TRI. I think it was some of the other students there or instructors that kind of put that one on his radar too. But either way, he gets the credit because it's his bloody program. And on that note, I feel obligated to say Julian's also a gem, and so is Stewart, because it's their school as a group, and they're all just legends. Anyways, here we are, 4669, $16. They look crazy, but if we get a spring rally, which I am still thinking we will, this is the kind of stuff you're going to see. And these are levels that if I had bought down here in this reload zone, which I didn't, there's still a trade here probably for me to be thinking about getting long out of this consolidation. We'll zoom into that and try to sweat that later. But for now, if it hits $9 and this is where I'm long from, I'm definitely paying myself. I don't even care if it goes higher. You have to pay yourself. You have to find a level. Otherwise you never will. In fact, if you don't pay yourself on the way up through something like this, just say that came. What do you end up doing, right? You say like, hey, look, I'm up 10K. Hey, look, I'm up 20K. Oh no, I'm only up 12K. Sell. Oh no, I'm only up 6K. Well, I didn't sell at 12. I didn't sell at 6. So I'm just going to hold. Oh no, I round tripped it. All right. So getting used to finding reasons to pay yourself on the way up on moves is typically a great way to like survive. The nice thing is if you do sell some here, even if it just goes higher, eventually it'll go lower or something else will be down in its reload zone and you can pick that up, and you're kind of playing a bit of a rotation game, giving yourself dry powder so you can actually, buy things again. Thanks for bringing up DYDX. That's a very sexy looking high time frame chart. And then zooming in a little bit, since I obviously did not buy this level, it's just reclaimed the weekly breakout level. So I think getting long somewhere against this, for now, that would probably look like risking to this low. I imagine myself, I would actually zoom in even closer. Just got a 4-hour W. So finding some kind of long setup here, because generally speaking, this is an asset high time frame that my bias is that it's quite bullish. And so it's about finding a setup on the low time frames. The absolute creme de la creme of setups is when it's like a scalp setup. For example, like risking against that low. So you're like a super low time frame, but then it's like building into a high time frame breakout. That's the tits. Because then what are you risking, right? You're risking like 4%. It's still a pretty big move, but like just say you're risking 4%, so you can take some size, right? Technically, I would never do this on one trade, but you could put in an entire portfolio and only risk 4% of it by putting in this trade. How do you do that without putting everything you have into one coin on one exchange? Well, you use leverage, which I don't recommend. Generally speaking, it's just better for me to say no one should ever use it. And if you work your way around that and figure it out, go for it. But most people try to use leverage to increase their chances of making a big trade, when in fact, it's really just a risk tool. I want to risk 100% like size. Like say I have a 0.5% risk window on a trade. I want to risk 0.5% of my entire portfolio. I'm not going to sell everything I have, put all the cash into the exchange, take the full position. And That's ridiculous. That's what you have to do if you don't have leverage. If you have leverage, you could take 10% of your portfolio. Say we're playing with 100K, you put 10K onto the exchange. You take a trade that risks, what is that, $500? You know what I mean? And then you're risking 0.5% of your entire portfolio, but you didn't have to stick it all on the exchange. You used leverage to allow just a little bit of margin to go a long way. That's a very gross oversimplification of how it can be used to help you as a trader. 9 times out of 10, it's used to hurt you as a trader. People just go too crazy size. Crazy 1 hour close, Mr. McConnell. Leverage trade on Magic right now. Nice. I hope that's going well for you. That's a sick. Oh, let's go back. Let's go back and look at Bitcoin. You guys have no idea, man. I know better. I know better than to sit and torture myself if I'm in a trade that I'm not planning on touching pretty much no matter what. But yesterday I did it. I literally sat doing other work, but like for the most part, for 12 hours, I tortured myself through this, and I didn't sell, and I didn't sell. I didn't do anything. I could have literally been out enjoying my life, but in this particular case, I tortured myself. And then coming into the stream, seeing this drip down, and obviously in your brain, it extrapolates into like that. But can I tell you, in this moment, I am euphoric. I haven't even looked over at the trade yet, but it's coming into my first take profit soon. Just a little bit, just a tip. I'm just going to close a little because then it locks in a realized P&L. Then I can move my stop loss to scratch, and then it's like, okay, cool, we've got a winner. Let's see how big the winner is. Let your winners run, kind of thing. Technically, if we're thinking about a range, a big sweep of range lows, price probably finds its way back to range highs. So I'm certainly not going to close the entire position until I, give it a chance to do that. But range EQ to me is a great place to take some off, especially if we're going to do something like this and then come revisit. Even that, I don't want to have not paid myself at all, right? And the nice thing is it gives me flexibility. I can start taking some size there, like, size, but like adding a little back. God forbid we just puke out anyways. At least I got paid. My stop was at break even. So that's kind of my management that I'm thinking of on this trade. So anyways, those are all the thoughts. Long CFX, says Kingsley. Yeah, CFX. I don't know what that is, dude. And we are at the top of the hour, and I've got kind of a big trade to go manage and stare at for a wee bit. So I think we'll sign off now. But that's it for today, guys. We got through a lot of my thinking. I hope that thinking helped illustrate some of what you're seeing in the market in ways that are meaningful to you. Still bullish on this market. I think at worst we're getting a dip, and at best we're just going to get a rip. But like the 12K crowd just needs to go away. I mean, stick around because you're going to be the fuel that takes us from 30 to 42. But like sitting around right now and being like, we're going to go to 12K, like maybe, but waiting for that is just asinine to me. Being ready if it comes, having a little dry powder, because somewhere along the way down there, I would definitely be invalidated and just be out to cash again and still be ready to buy 12K. But it's like alpha-less, like it's like, oh, we're going to go to 12. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that crowd. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I am still of the 42K by May and walk away, but we'll see. Hopefully ETHBTC continues to outperform here, makes a big comeback and roars into the future. And then we all get to win. Because let's be honest, most of us are liking the altcoins and the ETH coin. And my 2 weeks as a Bitcoin maxi were slightly less comfortable. Although I'll always have a little soft spot for Bitcoin because it's what got me in. So don't mind me. I'm going to sign off and go stare at the Agger for the next 12 hours and sweat. Have a wonderful day, guys. And whatever you do from now until next time, always play from a position of strength. Take care.